The First Church of Meher Baba. Oh, hey, the Awakener. Took me by surprise. I, I stand on this bridge and it's on a running trail. So I get to say hello to a lot of people, which is fun. Um, the First Church of Meher Baba the Awakener. Um, so God has been trying to give you this gift with greater or lesser success for eons. And Jesus tried to give it to you, and maybe you got it at one point and then lost it, and it just goes on and on like that. And one of the things that happened to our church, it's actually happened before it became a church, but when we began listening to this, was we discovered a lot of negative things about ourselves and other people, because this ability, this ability that you're being given enables you to know anything. And so you can find out all kinds of stuff, which is basically good. Finding out negative things is as good as finding out positive things, and negative things are as good as positive things, and dark matter is as good as light matter. There's nothing bad, that God created. God didn't create anything bad. It's just happens to be the way you relate to it. Like if somebody gets angry at you and cuts your finger off, you relate to that as a bad thing. I don't blame you. That is definitely because we have a limited perspective. There's a Zen story about a Zen monk who somebody was twisting his arm, and he said, if you keep twisting it, it's going to break. And so whoever was twisting his arm twisted it some more, and it broke. And he said, "See, I told you." And everybody has different perspectives on everything. Okay? So the problem is that we believe our perspective is right. That's the problem. Um, so, one of the things, for example, that you can test for is you can ask, um, let's see, how could I? Oh, am I a negative beingness? You could ask, okay, try that. Am I a negative beingness? And suppose you get yes. Well, that's a good thing to know about yourself, actually. Just like it helps to know you're an alcoholic, which is one thing I found out about myself a long time ago. And it really made a difference for me, you know, um, which, by the way, is a kind of negative beingness, addiction. Um, but anyway, once you have this alert, you can do something about it. And so God has given you this gift that enables you to do something about things that you didn't even know were there. But see, the reason that people hate churches, and when people hate churches, they often associate churches with God, and they become disconnected from God. There's nothing wrong with hating churches. I hate churches, even though I am one. But I see the flaws in those churches and this church, which I was starting to talk about actually, is that before we became a church, we actually were like sort of like blaming people for being, for various things that it's, I mean, frankly, it's like blaming somebody for getting the flu, which sometimes that happens, people blame people for getting sick and everything. They blame people for everything, you know? It's really a shame, but there's a lot of blame going around. And we had a lot of blame. We just weren't on a very high level. And that went on for a long time. Not with me around, fortunately, but it just kept on rolling, I was gone, but it just kept on rolling. So, and see, I think what we have to realize is just a simple thing, that God has given us a gift. And so that we can know things and we can do something about them. And so we can live a good life and we can have fun and make money and have friends and be true to people. And it doesn't mean, like, if you have, let's say you have an abusive husband, it doesn't mean you have to stay with him. You don't have to live with him. But it does mean that you really probably should never stop supporting him, or knowing that you have a connection with this guy. And that, whatever you can do to help, you will do. But it doesn't mean that you're going to like stick your neck out either. And also you actually, see, we have to give ourselves permission not to inconvenience ourselves. That's important, like you don't have to give your life, like because you're Mr. Nice Guy or Ms. Nice, your parents taught you to be nice or whatever. It just isn't, it's not the thing to do. It doesn't help anybody. It just encourages them. So it's okay to leave them on their own. And I think, years ago I had a girlfriend who left me on my own. And I missed her, but I realized that it was good for me. That I had to deal with things for myself, and so it helped. And we just have to see. This is why people hate churches, because, and some churches are pretty abusive. That is the truth about a lot of churches. There's a lot of churches out there that are abusive. They're awful. And they're, and see, a lot of times it's very subtle. Like the whole concept of original sin. Where do you think that came from? Like somebody was trying to pull a fast one. They got this gift from God, and then they tried to use it to control other people. And that's the problem with churches. They just try to control things. They all do it. Or maybe not all of them, but, well, I'll give you an example. I have some friends up the street who are Christians, and they are doing great. Like, their house is beautiful, they're prosperous, they're loving, they enjoy themselves, and they shine their light on the neighborhood. They're really like they've helped us. As a matter of fact, they told us the name of a good mechanic. we have a good mechanic now because of who recommended another mechanic, and so we have good mechanics because of them. And other things, they just, sometimes they pick strawberries and they put a big bunch of them out in front of my door or some such thing. They're just good eggs, really nice people. And there was they have a daughter she's probably around 20 now, or maybe even a little older. At the time, she was probably around 16. But anyway, I was in their house talking to the mom, in the kitchen, and the daughter was there, and we sort of veered off into a little topic of religion. I don't know how we got there, but and she said to me, "Well, I think maybe I have this little wisecrack I make, which is true actually, but I tell people I'm a Christian. I'm just the kind of Christian who believes in reincarnation." It always gets them, you know. So, but whatever it was, she said to me, "Well, um, if you don't if you don't accept Christ as your Savior, you're going to hell." And that went over like a lead balloon. But I realized that this is why people hate churches, because they get told, well, if you don't do things our way, you're going to hell. You'll see, for eternity. And but it's also why people stay stuck in churches, and they, and they get something out of it that's really positive, and that keeps them there too. You know what? There's a reward to it, because anything that puts your attention on God, even remotely, is helpful in some way. It always helps, even if it can be the most destructive. I mean, the Spanish Inquisition, they can be torturing you. But, as a matter of fact, I read a fantastic book about this, which was written by Aldous Huxley. I read it so many years ago, and I loved it. It's called The Devils of Loudon, and it's about this convent full of nuns who pretended to be possessed by the devil because they got mad at a priest, and they named him as the emissary of the devil. So they didn't get burned at the stake, but he did. And first they tortured him for weeks, and he was a scoundrel. He was he was having sex with the nuns and whatever. He was doing awful things. Everybody hated him. But he turned to God in the middle of this, and he connected to God, and he actually, for probably the first time in his life, became, really connected to God. And I don't know what happened then. I guess he's dead now for sure, because this happened in the 14th century, I think, something like that. So, moral of the story is that if something connects you to God, whatever it is, it's good. And so, doesn't mean you shouldn't hate churches, though. I think that we have to really try to get down to reality. Of course, I'm a stock trader, and stock traders believe that. So you can maybe you want to take it with a grain of salt. Maybe you don't like reality, and that's okay. You can go live in a dream if you want. I don't even know you, so I'm a movie. So do what you want. But I think my opinion is we have to get in touch with reality and actually see things as they are. And that includes diet, money, relationships, everything. And one good way to do it is just to ask a question and see if you get a signal or not. Like I ask things like all the time. Like I was wondering if I had COVID-19, and I asked myself, do I have COVID-19? And I got no, you know. And so then I said, oh, I guess I don't have it. And that was that. Of course, I also had to get a test for it because I was going for a medical procedure. It's a little minor surgery I wanted to have. And one of the optional surgeries they started doing again now since the epidemic sort of, they kind of got used to being in an epidemic, so they decided to go back to doing optional surgeries. They made better procedures. So I went and had a test. But it doesn't matter to me. If I get COVID-19, I'll have symptoms, so I'll know, and I'll be able to cure it. Because I can cure any virus. I ain't worried about cancer and viruses, guys. Even though I could be wrong about this, because I have not been able to get rid of my warts by this method. I just don't have the perseverance. Although Franny cured hers with it. She cured her warts. And she tried everything. The reason she used the, I'm now removing all wart from all my bodies, kind of approach and get a signal on it. But I think you sort of have to go through the bodies one by one, so help to know what those are. Anyway, the reason she did it, though, because it takes a lot of perseverance, was that she tried putting stuff on her hands and wearing a glove overnight and all kinds of stuff. And she had these little tiny warts you could barely see, So it's just hard to pay attention to them. But nothing worked. They were spreading from the treatment she was doing. It was making them spread. And so she cured her warts with this. I haven't done mine, though. Oh well, but I think if I got COVID-19, it would be a big fire under my butt, and then I'd have to take matters into my own hands. Okay, guys, nice being with you.